Thank you, Donna. Well, I'm here to talk about solutions. We've identified the problem. We don't have enough housing. What's out there is expensive, and our seniors are at risk. So what can we do? Well, I like to tell people HomeShare Oregon started out as an idea, or really a question. And here was the question a group of people up in Portland were asking. They wanted to know, what else can we do to get affordable housing for Oregonians? And they did their research and they did some brainstorming and they came up with the idea of HomeShare Oregon. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. We say that community begins at home. Let's see what that looks like. This is our mission. The mission of HomeShare Oregon is to expand access to affordable housing through home sharing. We believe that this is a direct way to prevent housing instability, foreclosures, and homelessness. We say it's the solution that brings us together. Did you know that there are 1.5 million empty spare rooms in the state of Oregon? If you look at that as underused housing, it can shift your perspective. Our board decided, they did a little bit of math and they set a goal. They said if we could fill 2% of those empty rooms with renters, we could find housing for 30,000 people. I live in Springfield, Oregon. That is half the size of my city. That is a significant number. We're not quite there yet. We've only been around for about a year and a half, but we're growing. And word is getting out with this idea of home sharing. Why is it a solution? Well, it's mutually beneficial for the home provider and the home seeker. It's flexible, it's affordable. The average price for a home share in our state is somewhere between $650 and $850 a month, approximately half of what an apartment would cost in whatever community they're in. And the way that we do it, it's efficient and it's independent. We think that it's a tried and true solution for a growing modern problem. And it is not a new idea. When my grandparents walked the earth, well now, I'm in my 60s, so that's a while ago, but when my grandparents walked the earth, they called it taking in a border. And people did it, and it worked. So how do we do it in this century? I'm so glad you asked. Your first step would be to visit our website, homeshareoregon.org, and you sign up with us. What we do is we give you access to an online roommate matching service. I like to tell people it's a kind of a cross between Airbnb and a dating app. I know that sounds a little funny, but hang in there with me. Because what you do is both parties, the home provider and the home seeker, they all answer the same list of questions. And then based on location, because with this app you choose the city you think you want to live in, or where your house is, depending which role you're in, and an algorithm matches them based on compatibility. And I always like to tell people compatibility is really important because if you're sharing a house, you have to get along. So what do you do next? You monitor your matches, you communicate through the app, and you're able to screen people without sharing your personal information or your contact information until you find the right person. It's important to start that dialogue, and we like people to do it through the app, again, because it's secure. And you open up this dialogue and you ask good questions, and if someone's not a good fit, well, you can move on. And if someone is, then you take it to the next step, because this is only the first part. There's more. I spend a lot of my time working with participants and coaching them along this route. I tell them I'm their home sharing coach, although I do many other things. But in building a profile, you've got to be thorough, you have to be descriptive. I want them to do it positively as well, but you got to be honest. Because if you paint a picture that is not true, you will not find a good match. And we always encourage the homeowners to put some photos on their profile because people want to see what it looks like before they decide if they want to move in. Talking about finding the right fit, I've already said, you have that dialogue, but, we don't think a home provider should invite anybody over. until they've met them. And we don't think anyone should go to someone's house if they don't know who they are, because there are unscrupulous people out there. So I tell them to meet up in a coffee shop or a library. I had 2 women in Portland that had dogs. They decided to meet at a dog park because they wanted their dogs to get along. It all worked out. But we give the tools and we give coaching to help people do this for themselves. HomeShare Oregon doesn't put anybody in your home. You get to make that decision for yourself. We're just giving you the tools and the coaching to do so. And during that conversation, you should come up with a plan as to how this is going to work. And we think that plan should be written up into your home sharing agreement. That's a big part of the security piece. That's also on this slide. You use the tools that are available. And having a home share agreement that's signed between both people, it needs to have more than just when the rent is due. It needs to have house rules and expectations and communication. What are you going to do when you disagree? You work all this out in advance, and you both sign it and agree to it. You use other tools. We pay for criminal background checks. We think both parties should complete those because both parties want to feel secure. And you have to ask the tough questions. If it's important to you, you need to talk about it. And my most important piece of advice is don't hurry. Take your time. Finding a good home share mat is worth the effort. I'm putting up a slide now. I know the viewers or the listeners on radio can't see. There are home sharing testimonies. I'm going to let this sit here for a minute, but I'm not going to read them to you. I am going to tell you about one gentleman that I've worked with personally. His name is Robert. Robert and I met a year ago, October, down at the Eugene Saturday Market. I was sitting by a little card table talking about home sharing, and I'd been working for HomeShare Oregon for about 2 weeks, so I was pretty new. And he came by and we had a conversation, and he wandered off and he came back and he said, I just looked you up on my cell phone. I want to know more. Now, Robert is around 70 years old and has a mobile home. And he has been working part-time, but his health was, he had some health issues, and he really needed another source of income, and he thought this might be it, so he signed up. A couple months later, I met another home sharing person. Her name is Margaret. She moved to Eugene after her husband passed away, and she thought she could find an apartment with her $1,200 a month Social Security. She was couch surfing on her son's couch in a tiny house with his wife and her granddaughter, and there just really wasn't space, and it was getting a little stressful. So she signed up for home sharing. I helped her build her profile. She and Robert matched. They followed all those things that I tell people to do, and they decided to give it a try. She moved in New Year's Day, 2022. And in June, they decided that, yes, this is really working for us. And they've made a longer agreement with each other. And Robert called me one day, and he left a very long message, and I just put a little piece of it on this slide. He said, I am very, very pleased with my housemate, Margaret. She is a wonderful person. It's like a key fitting in a lock. I saved that voicemail. When I get discouraged, I listen to it because it makes me happy. So who do you know? We believe home sharing works for all ages and all demographics. We think anyone with an extra room should consider home sharing. It works for empty nesters. We've talked about seniors. Definitely works for seniors. I would say somewhere between 50 and 65% of the people I talk to are seniors who have a home that they're thinking about sharing, or they are a senior without a place to live, or they're about to lose the place they live because it has been priced out of their budget. So definitely seniors. People experiencing major life transitions, divorce, if your spouse passes away, or if you put a partner in long-term care and your finances are in awry, home sharing can help. People who need household assistance, Donna mentioned seniors wanting to age in place. Well, absolutely, but sometimes that big old house is more than they can handle. So they choose to match with someone who's younger and able-bodied, and they negotiate a lower rent for someone doing chores around the house. It can really serve them well. Obviously, people struggling with isolation, that sure came to the forefront with the pandemic, and people who are just looking for community and change. We are trying to find ways to incentivize our homeowners to consider doing this. And so to that end, we have some legislation that is going in front of the Oregon State leaders in January during the long session. It's called Home Share for Oregon, and the concept is pretty simple. This idea would absolve tax liability on the income you earn from renting out a room in your home. Now, this hasn't been passed yet, but it's being proposed. And again, it's for anyone who's willing to rent the space for $1,000 or less a month. And if you think that's a good idea, allowing people to get up to $12,000 a year tax-free by renting out a space, please go to our website, homeshareoregon.org, and click on the advocacy tab and sign up on our petition supporting this, because we think it's a really great idea. I don't have much more. I just want to leave you with our vision, because we envision a world in which every person has a clean, safe home, a world where home sharing is normalized and as a lifestyle preference. And by doing that, homelessness will be uprooted. I can't do this alone, so here's my challenge. Consider home sharing for yourself. If not for you, if you know someone this might work for, tell them about us. Word of mouth is the best advertising we can get. Consider joining my Home Share Oregon action team here in Lane County. I've got 3 dedicated people. I need a couple more. We need to move this forward. And if nothing else, go to our website and sign up for our quarterly newsletter and stay informed about what's going on with home sharing in our state. And my last request, if you are connected with another group like this Eugene City Club that likes to have people come and do presentations, whether it's your faith community, a service club, I don't care. It could be your book club. I don't care. I would love to come and talk to you and tell you more, because we want to move this forward, and it's important. It's a creative solution for a difficult situation. My last slide is just some places where I've gotten some of the information I've shared with you. This is actually all I have to present. I believe in a little while we're going to take some questions, so thanks for listening.